Chapter 11. I opened the door to our suite as quietly as I can. Ethan wasn't awake yet when I finally gave up on waiting for him and went to get something to eat, but he is now. He's sitting on the couch in nothing but boxers. There's so much tan skin to take in, it sends my pulse skyrocketing. We'll have to talk about what happened last night, the kissing and the fact we slept together all night, curled in a matching set of parentheses. But it would probably be much easier if we could just skip the awkward talk and go straight to the making out again. Hey, I said quietly. Hey. His hair is a mess and his eyes are closed and he's leaning back as if he's just focusing on breathing or planning to start a petition to ban all sales of $1.99 Mai Tais. How's the head? I ask. He answers with a gravelly groan. I brought you some fruit and an egg sandwich. I hold out a to-go container of some mango and berries, and a wrapped package with the sandwich, and he looks at both of them like they're filled with buffet seafood. You went downstairs to eat, he asks. The follow-up, without me, is clearly implied. His tone is
dickish.
But I forgive him. No one likes a pounding head. Setting the food down on the table, I head into the kitchen to get some coffee. Yeah, I waited for you until about 9:30, but my stomach was digesting itself. Did Sophie see you there alone? This feels like being jerked on a standstill. I turn to look at him over my shoulder. What? I just don't want her to think that there's trouble in our marriage. We spent all afternoon talking about how he's better off without Sophie. He kissed me last night, and this morning he's worried about what she thinks? Awesome. You mean our fake marriage, I say? He rubs a hand across his forehead. Yeah, exactly. Dropping his hand so he looks up at me. So? My jaw tightens, and I feel the storm build in my chest. This is good. Anger is good. I can do angry at Ethan. It's so much easier than feeling the tickling edges of smitten. No, Ethan, your ex-girlfriend was not at breakfast. Neither was her fiancé. Or any of your new friends you made in the lobby last night. The what? He asks. Never mind. Obviously he doesn't remember. Excellent. We could pretend the rest didn't happen either. Are you in a bad mood? He asks, and a dry, sardonic laugh bursts out of me. Am I in a bad mood? Is that a serious question? You seem upset or something. I take a deep breath, pulling myself to my full height. Do I seem upset? He kissed me last night, said sweet things implying that maybe he'd want to do that for a while, and then passed out. Now he's grilling me about who might have seen me getting food alone in the hotel. I don't think my reaction is overblown. I'm great. He mumbles something and then reaches for the fruit, opening the lid and peering in. Was this from the... No, Ethan, it's not from the buffet. I ordered a freshly made fruit plate. I brought it up to spare us the $12 room service delivery charge. My palm is itchy to smack him for the first time in 2 days, and it feels glorious. He grunts out a thanks, and then picks up a piece of mango with his fingers. He stares at it, and then bursts out laughing. What's so funny, I ask, just remembering that girlfriend of Dane's who had a mango tattoo on her butt. What? He chews and swallows before speaking. Trinity, the one he was dating like 2 years ago? I frown. Discomfort worms through me. Couldn't have been 2 years ago. He was with Amy 3.5 years ago. He waves this away. Yeah, but I mean before he and Amy were exclusive. At these words, I drop the sugar spoon I'm holding, and it clatters dissonantly on the counter. Amy met Dane at a bar, and by her account, they went home that night, had sex, and never looked back. As far as I know, there was never a time they weren't exclusive. How long was it again that they were seeing other people? I ask, with as much control as possible. Ethan pops a blackberry into his mouth. He's not looking at my face now, which is probably good, because I'm sure I look like I'm ready to do a murder. Like the first couple years they were together, right? Bending, I pinch the bridge of my nose, trying to channel professional Olive, who can keep her cool even when being challenged by condescending physicians. Right. I can either freak out or milk this moment for information. They met at the bar, but it wasn't until... When did they decide to be exclusive again? Ethan looks up at me, catching something in my tone. Was it right before they got engaged? I don't know what I'll do with myself if he agrees with this shot in the dark. But it suddenly makes sense that Dane would refuse to commit until he was impulsively ready to enter holy matrimony. My brain is nothing but fantasies of fire and brimstone. Ethan nods slowly, and his eyes scan my face like he's trying to read my mood. And can't. Remember? He ended it with the other woman right around the time Amy had her appendix out, and then he proposed. I slam a hand down on the counter. Are you kidding me? Ethan bolts to stand, pointing a finger at me. You played me. Don't even pretend like Amy didn't know all this. Amy never thought they were seeing other people, Ethan. Then she lied to you because Dane tells her everything. I am already shaking my head, and I really want to hurt Dane, but Ethan is closer, and it'll be a fantastic rehearsal. You're telling me that Dane was sleeping around for the first 2 years they were together, and he let you think that Amy was okay with it? She started cutting out wedding dresses she liked in magazines after a few months of dating him. She treated her wedding like a game show challenge to win as much as she could, and it consumed her. She has an apron specifically for baking cupcakes, for crying out loud, and has already picked out names for their future children. Does Amy seem like the kind of chill gal who would be fine with an open relationship? He seems less certain now. Maybe I'm wrong. I need to call her. I turn to head to the bedroom to find my phone. Don't, he shouts. Look, if that's what he told me, then I'm telling you this in confidence. You have got to be joking. There's no way I'm not talking to my sister about this. Jesus Christ, Dane was right. I go very still. What is that supposed to mean? He laughs, but it is not a happy sound. Seriously, Ethan, what does it mean? He looks up at me, and with a pang, I miss the sweet adoration in his expression last night, because the anger here is painful. Tell me, I say more quietly now. He told me not to bother with you, that you're angry all the time. I feel this like a punch to my sternum. Can you believe I wanted to ask you out? He says, and laughs humorlessly. What are you even talking about? I ask. When? When we first met, he bends, resting his elbows on his thighs. His long form curls up into exhausted seat, and he rakes a fantastic hand through his mess of hair. That first time at the fair, I told him how pretty I thought you were. He thought that was weird, that it was weird for me to be attracted to you. Like it meant I was into his girlfriend or something because you were twins. He told me not to bother anyway, that you were sort of bitter and cynical. Dane told you I was bitter? Bitter about what? I am flabbergasted. I mean, I didn't know at the time, but it seemed to mesh with how you acted. You clearly didn't like me from the get-go. I only didn't like you because you were such a asshole when we met. You looked at me eating cheese curds like I was the most repulsive woman you'd ever seen. He looks up at me, eyes narrowed in confusion. What are you talking about? Everything seemed fine, I say. While everyone was deciding what we wanted to go see first, I went to get some cheese curds. I came back and you looked at them, looked at me in complete revulsion, and then walked away to check out the beer competition. From that point on, you've always acted so disgusted around me and food. Ethan shakes his head, eyes closed like he has to clear away this alternate reality. I remember meeting you, being told I couldn't ask you out, and then going to do our own things for the afternoon. I have no recollection of the rest. Well, I sure do. That certainly explains what you said 2 days ago, he says, about not making fun of your body during the massage. Certainly explains why you are always so dismissive to me afterward. Excuse me? I was the dismissive one? Are you for real right now? You acted like you wanted nothing to do with me after that day. He seethes. I was probably just trying to get my head on straight about being attracted to you. And of course you interpret it as something about your body and cheese curds. Jesus, Olive, that is so like you, to focus on the negative in every interaction. Blood pulses in my ears. I don't even know how to process what I'm hearing, or the undeniable ache it shoves through me that I think he might be right. Defensiveness pushes aside introspection. Well, who needs to see the upside of things when you've got your brother telling you that I'm a shrew and to stay away from me anyway? He throws up his hands. I didn't see anything that contradicted what he said. I take a deep breath. Does it occur to you that your attitude can foster how people react to you? That you hurt my feelings by reacting that way, whether you meant to or not? I am mortified when I feel my throat grow tight with tears. Olive, I don't know how to say it more plainly. I was into you, he growls. You're hot. And I was probably trying to hide it. I'm sorry for that totally unintentional reaction. I really am. But every indication I had, from you or Dane, was that you thought I was a waste of space. I didn't at first, I say, leaving the rest unsaid. He clearly reads the I do now in my expression, though, and the line of his mouth hardens. Good, he says, voice hoarse. Then the feeling is conventionally mutual. What a fucking relief. I stare at him for 2 rapid breaths, just long enough to imprint his face in the space marked
Dickhead.
my brain cyclopedia, and then I turn, storm back into the bedroom, and slam the door. I fall back onto the bed, reeling. Part of me almost wants to get up and make a list of everything that just happened so I can process it in some sort of organized way. Like, not only was Dane sleeping around the first 2 years of his relationship with my sister, but he told Ethan not to bother with me, because Ethan wanted to ask me out. I don't even know what to do with this information because it is so at odds with my mental history of him. Until the past couple of days, there have never been a hint of Ethan wanting to do anything with me. Not even a flash of softness or warmth. Is he making that up? I mean, why would he do that? So does that mean he's right about me? Did I misinterpret everything in that first interaction and carry it with me for the past 2.5 years? Was a single ambiguous look from Ethan enough to send me into this place of no return where I decide we're bitter enemies? Am I really that angry? I feel my breath grow tight as the rest of it nudges back into my thoughts. Is it even possible that Amy knew about Dane seeing other people? She knew I was lukewarm on him from the get-go, so I have to give some space to the possibility that they had their own arrangement, and she didn't tell me because she knew I would worry or protest out of protectiveness. Frankly, it's hard for me to even imagine Amy and Dane in an open relationship, but whether or not it's true, I can't exactly call her from Maui and ask. That is not a phone call conversation. That is an in-person conversation with wine and snacks and a careful lead-in. I pick up a pillow and scream into it, and when I pull it away, I hear a quiet knock on the bedroom door. Go away, Olive, he says, sounding much calmer. Don't call Amy. I'm not calling Amy. Just seriously, go away. The hallway falls silent, and a few seconds later, I hear the heavy click of the suite door closing. When I wake up, it's midday, and the sun pours brightly across the bed, bathing me in a hot rectangle of light. I roll away from it, straight into a pillow that smells like Ethan. That's right, he slept in this bed with me last night. He is everywhere in this room. In the neat row of shirts hanging in the closet, the shoes lined up by the dresser, his watch, his wallet, his keys, even his phone is sitting right there. Even the sound of the ocean is tainted with the memory of him, of his head in my lap on the boat, struggling to overcome sickness. For the dark flash, I derive some joy out of the image of Ethan sitting miserably by the pool, surrounded by people he'd love to befriend when tipsy, but whom he wants to generally avoid when sober. But the joy falls away when I remember everything about our fight, the reality that I've spent the last 2.5 years hating him for a reaction he had that wasn't at all what I thought it was, and the reality that the Amy and Dane aspect isn't going to be resolved for a few more days at least. Which leaves only one thing for me to chew on, and that's Ethan admitting he wanted to ask me out. It's genuinely a rewrite of my internal history, and it takes a lot of mental maneuvering. Of course I found Ethan attractive when I first met him, but personality is everything, and his left a giant gaping hole in the column of positive attributes. Up until this trip, when he was not only the best sparring partner, but also entirely adorable on several occasions, and frequently shirtless. Groan. I stand up, walking to the door and peeking out. No sign of Ethan in the living room. Darting into the bathroom, I close the door and turn on the faucet, splashing water on my face. I stare at myself in the mirror, thinking Ethan wanted to ask me out, because Ethan liked me. Dane told him I was always angry. I proved Dane right that very first day. My eyes widen as an additional possibility occurs to me. What if Dane didn't want me to date his brother? What if he didn't want me in his business, knowing that he was the one planning all these trips, that he was seeing other women, and God knows what else? He's used Ethan as a scapegoat, as a shield. What if he used the convenience of my grouchy reputation to create a buffer zone? What a
dick!
Bursting out of the bathroom, I turn to the left to begin my Ethan search and run directly into his brick wall chest. The oof that erupts from me is cartoon-level comical. He makes it worse by catching me easily and holding me at a distance, looking down wearily. I have the absurd image of Ethan holding me back with an outstretched hand on my forehead while I try to take swings at him with ineffectively short arms. Stepping back, I ask, "Where were you?" "Pool," he says. "I was coming to grab my phone and wallet." "Where are you going?" He lifts a shoulder. "Not sure." He's guarded again. Of course he's guarded. He admitted that he was attracted to me, and up until this trip I'd only ever been rude to him. Then I stormed out of the room after implying he's still a waste of my time. I don't even know where to start. I realize of the two of us, I have the most to say right now. I want to start with an apology, but it's like pushing water through a brick. The words just won't come. I start with something else. I'm not trying to do that thing I do where I look for the worst possible explanation for things, but do you think Dane was trying to keep us apart? Ethan immediately scowls. I don't want to talk about Dane or Amy right now. We can't get into it with them while we're here and they're there. I know. Okay, I'm sorry. I look at him for a beat and catch a flicker of emotion behind his eyes. It's enough to give me a bravery to push on. But should we talk about us? What us? The us that is having this conversation. I whisper, eyes wide with meaning. The us that is on this vacation together, having a fight, having feelings. His eyes narrow. I don't think us is a very good idea, Olive. This denial is good. It's familiar disagreement. It bolsters my resolve. Why? Because we argue? That's a pretty mild term for what we do. I like that we argue, I tell him, willing the sticky, tender words out. Your ex-girlfriend never even wanted to disagree. My parents won't get a divorce, but speak to each other. And I know you don't want to talk about it, but I feel like my sister is in a marriage where I hedge so we don't just go down that road all over again and I end up angry. She doesn't actually know her husband all that well, but it's always been safe for us to say exactly what we're thinking with each other. It's one of my favorite things about being with you. Do you have that with everyone? I ask. And when he doesn't immediately answer, I tell him, I know you don't. His brow pulls down, and I can tell he's turning this around in his mind. He may be mad at me, but at least he's listening. I chew my lip, looking up at him. Time for a different tack. You said I'm hot. Ethan Thomas rolls his eyes at me. You know you are. I take a deep breath, holding it. Even if nothing happens once we get home, and it might be smarter for both of us to keep our distance, because who knows what nuclear fallout there will be when I finally talk to Amy. I sincerely doubt we'll be able to keep our hands to ourselves for the next 5 days. At least I know I won't. My anger toward Ethan has melted into a fondness and attraction so acute it's hard to not throw my arms around him in this hallway right now. Even when he's wearing his surly face, frowned brows, mouth a hard line, and his hands are curled into defensive balls at his side. Maybe every time I wanted to smack him in the past. I really just wanted to press my face into his. I narrow my eyes back at him. I'm not afraid of relying on cheap seduction. I reach for his hand and the movement accidentally presses my boobs together. He notices. His nostrils flare and his eyes move higher onto my face, as if he's trying to keep them from sinking. Ethan Thomas is definitely a boob man. I bite my lip, saw my teeth back and forth. In response, he licks his own lips and swallows, holding steady. I'm going to need to work for this. I take a step closer, reach out, and rest my other hand on his stomach. Holy Lord, is it firm and warm, and spasms slightly beneath my fingertips. My voice shakes, but I sense I'm getting to him, and it gives me the confidence to press on. Do you remember kissing me last night? He blinks to the side, exhaling slowly like he's busted. Yes, but do you remember it? I ask, taking another step closer so that we're nearly chest to chest. He hesitates, and then looks back at me, brows drawn. What do you mean? Do you remember the kiss itself? My fingers scratch lightly at his stomach, down to the hem of his shirt, and I slip my thumb under, stroking. Or do you just remember that it happened? Ethan licks his lips again, and fire erupts in my belly. Yes. Was it good? I can tell his breathing is accelerated in now as well. In front of me, his chest rises and falls rapidly. I, too, feel like I can barely get enough oxygen. Yeah. Did you forget your words, Elvis? It was good, he manages, and rolls his eyes, but I can see him fighting a smile, too. Good how? His jaw ticks like he wants to argue with me about why I'm asking him this when I obviously was there, too. But the heat in his eyes tells me he's just as turned on as I am, and is willing to play along. It was the kind of kiss that feels like
fucking.
All the air is sucked out of my lungs, and I'm left staring at him, speechless. I was expecting him to say something safe, not something that would send my libido spiraling out of any controlled orbit. Running both hands up his chest, I relish the exhaled little grunt he can't seem to keep contained. I have to rise on my toes to reach him, but I don't mind the way he's making me work for it. With his gaze locked on mine, he doesn't bend until I'm right there, at the limit of where I can reach. But then he gives in to it entirely. With a soft moan of relief, his eyes fall closed. His arms come around my waist, and Ethan covers my mouth with his. If last night's kiss felt like a drunken impulse, this one feels like a complete unburdening. He takes my mouth slowly, and then with more vigor until his deep groan vibrates all the way to the marrow of my bones. It's heaven to dig my hands into the silk of his hair, to feel the way he lifts me up from the floor so that I'm at his level, high enough for me to wrap my legs around his waist. His kiss makes me come undone. I can't be embarrassed that I fall so quickly into a wild hunger because he's right there with me, nearly frantic. I speak the single word into his mouth. Bedroom. He carries me down the hall, maneuvering me easily through the doorway toward the bed. I want to eat his soft little grunts. Then the bursting exhales he gives when I tug on his hair or lick at his lip or move my mouth to his jaw, his neck, his ear. I pull him over me when he lowers me to the mattress, taking his shirt off before his chest even touches mine. All that smooth, warm, tan-skinned under my hands makes me crazed, like I'm feverish. Next time I'll undress him slowly and enjoy every inch revealed. But right now, I just need to feel his weight over me. His mouth makes its way down my body. Hands already familiar with my legs now explore my breasts, my stomach, the delicate skin beside my hip bones, and lower. I want to take a picture of him like this, his soft hair brushing against my stomach as he makes his way down, his eyes closed in pleasure. I think this is the longest we've gone without arguing, he murmurs. What if all of this is just a ruse to get a great blackmail photo? I am breathless as he kisses a string of heat across my navel. I've always wanted someone who appreciates the long con. He bares his teeth, biting the sensitive juncture of hip and thigh. I start to laugh, then a kiss is pressed between my legs, where I am overheated and aching, and Ethan reaches up, resting a palm over my heart to feel it hammering. With focus and quiet, encouraging sounds, he makes me fall apart so thoroughly I am demolished, giggling mess in his arms afterwards. You okay there, Olivia? He asks, sucking gently at my neck. Ask later, nonverbal now. His growls tell me he's happy with his answer. Hungry fingers slide all over my stomach, my breasts, my shoulders. I manage to pull myself together, too tempted by his collarbones and chest hair and abdomen to let a walloping orgasm keep me from exploring. With his lips parted and fingers loosely tangled in my hair, Ethan watches me move down his body, kissing him, tasting him until he stops me with tense, dark eyes. Reaching down, he pulls me back up and rolls over onto me in an impressive display of agility. I feel the air sweetly pressed out of my lungs, the smooth side of his body all over mine. This okay? He asks. I'd argue with him about the word okay when things are very clearly sublime, but now is not the time to nitpick. Yeah, yes, perfect. You want to? Ethan sucks at my shoulder, sliding his warm palm up over my hip, to my waist, my ribs, and back down again. Yeah. I gulp down an enormous breath of air. Do you? He nods against me and then laughs quietly, coming up for a kiss. I really, really do. My body screams yes, just as my mind screams birth control. Wait. Condoms. I groan into his mouth. I've got some. He jumps up, and I'm distracted enough by the view of him crossing the room that it takes me a second to realize what he said. Who were you planning on having sex with on this trip? I ask him, fake scowling over from the bed. And in which bed? He tears open the box and glances at me. I don't know. Better to be prepared, right? At this, I push on an elbow. Were you thinking you'd have sex with me? Ethan laughs, ripping the foil open with his teeth. Definitely not you. Rude. He makes his way back over to me, treating me to a very lovely view. I think it would have been delusional for me to think I would ever get this lucky. Does he know he's chosen the perfect words to complete this mad seduction? I can hardly argue. Being with him right now represents the most astonishing luck I've ever had, too. And when he climbs over me again, pressing his mouth to mine and running a hand down my thigh to cut my knee and pull it up over his hip, arguing is suddenly the last thing on my mind. Chapter 12. Ethan looks at me and smiles, and then turns his head down and pokes at his lunch. It's an ironically bashful expression for the hot, objectifying pervert who barely half an hour ago watched me with the intensity of a predator while I got dressed. When I asked him what he was doing, he said, just having a moment. What kind of moment were you having? I ask now, and Ethan looks back up. Moment? What? I realize I'm digging for a compliment. He was watching me get dressed with a thirst I didn't see in his eyes even on my tie night. But I guess I'm still in that weird
fugue
where I don't actually believe that we're getting along swimmingly, let alone having fun being naked together. In the room, I say, having a moment. Oh, he says, and winces. Yeah, about that. Was just freaking out a little over having sex with you. I bark out a laugh. I think he's joking. Thank you for being so consistently on brand. No, but really, he amends with a smile. I was enjoying watching. I liked seeing you put your clothes back on. One would think the undressing part would be the highlight. It was, believe me. He takes a bite, chewing and swallowing while studying me, and something in his expression takes me back an hour, to when he kept whispering, "It's good, so good," in my ear before I fell to pieces beneath him. But afterward, seeing you put yourself back together was... He glances over my shoulder, searching for the right word, and I'm guessing it's going to be a great one, sexy, or seductive, or perhaps life-altering. But then his expression turns sour. I point my fork at him. That is not a good face for this conversation. Sophie, he says, both in explanation and greeting as she steps up to the table, cocktail in one hand and Billy's arm in another. Of course. Of course she approaches us right now, wearing a bikini under a tiny, sheer cover-up, looking like she just walked off the set of a Sports Illustrated photo shoot. Meanwhile, my hair is twisted up in a haystack on my head. I have zero makeup on, and I'm sex-sweaty, wearing running shorts and a t-shirt featuring smiling ketchup and mustard bottles dancing together. Hey guys! Her voice is so high-pitched, it's like having someone blow a whistle next to my head. I study Ethan from across the table, eternally curious at how the relationship worked once upon a time. Ethan with his deep, warm, honey voice. Sophie with her cartoon mouse voice. Ethan with a watchful gaze. Sophie with her eyes that bounce all over a room, searching for the next interesting thing. He's also so much bigger than she is. For a second, I imagine him carrying her around the Twin Cities in a baby Bjorn and having to swallow back a giant cackle. We let out a flaccid "hey" in unison. Catching a late lunch, she asks. Yeah, he says, and then puts on a plastic expression of marital happiness. If I recognize how forced it is, Sophie, his live-in girlfriend of nearly 2 years, has got to see through it too. Spent the day in bed, I add, too loudly. Ethan looks at me like I am eternally hopeless. He exhales through his nose in a long, patient scream. For once, I'm not even lying, and I still sound like a maniac. That was our day yesterday. Sophie's eyes slide to Billy. Fun, right? This entire thing is so weird. Who talks to each other like this? Billy nods, but isn't looking at us. Who can blame him? He doesn't want to hang out with us any more than we want them there. But his reaction is clearly not enough for her, because a cloudy frown sweeps across her face. She glances at Ethan hungrily, and then away again, like the loneliest woman on the planet. I wonder how he'd feel if he'd looked up and noticed it. The flat-out yearning in her expression. The "did I make a mistake" expression. But he's back to obviously poking at his noodles. So, she says, staring directly at Ethan, it looks like she's sending him messages with the power of her mind. They are not penetrating. Finally, he glances up with a forced blank expression. Maybe we can get drinks later? Talk? She's clearly asking him, singular, not us, plural. And I assume Billy is also not included in the invitation. I want to ask her, now you want to talk? You didn't when he was yours. But I refrain, and an awkward weight descends, and I look up at Billy to see whether he feels it too. But he's pulled his phone out of his pocket and is scrolling through Instagram. I'm not. Ethan looks over at me, brows drawn. Maybe? I give him an "are you
fucking"
serious face, but he misses it. Text me, she says softly. He lets out a garbled sound of agreement, and I want to snap a picture of her expression and show this to him later and make him explain what the hell is happening. Does Sophie regret breaking up with Ethan? Or is it only bothering her because he's married and not pining over her anymore? This dynamic is fascinating and just so weird. There's no other way to explain it. I let myself imagine this bubbly person in front of me leaving a note that says simply, "I don't think we should get married. Sorry." And in fact, I can totally see it. She's candy sweet at the surface and probably terrible at communicating negative emotions. Meanwhile, I'm like a Sour Patch Kid on the surface, but will happily detail all the ways I think the world is going to hell. After lingering for a few more stilted beats, Sophie tugs at Billy's arm, and they make their way toward the exit. Ethan lets out a long breath aimed at his plate. Seriously, why do they insist on socializing with us? I ask. He takes his grumpy feelings out on a piece of chicken, harshly stabbing it. No idea. I think drinks tonight would be a bad idea. He nods, but doesn't say anything. I turn to watch Sophie's high and firm retreating backside, and then look at Ethan. You okay? I mean, we had sex like an hour ago, even with his ubiquitous ex wandering around the hotel. The correct answer is yes, right? Ethan nods and gives me what I've come to know as a fake smile. I'm fine. Good, because I was about to flip the table over the way she was staring at you with those sad dog eyes. He lifts his head. She what? I don't like how immediately this perked him up. I want to be honest with him, but my words come out forced. She seemed to want to make eye contact with you. I mean, we made eye contact. She asked to meet us for drinks. Yeah, no. She wanted to meet you for drinks. Ethan very deliberately tries to look cool about this and does a very bad job at it. He's fighting a gloating smile, and I get it. Who hasn't wanted to wave their shiny new relationship in the face of the person who dumped them? Even the best among us aren't above that kind of pettiness. And yet, heat rushes to my face. I'm not just weary in this moment, I'm humiliated. A very obvious vacation screw. At the very least, dude, put away your boner for your ex for a good 6 hours after having sex with someone else. I stop myself. This is exactly what I do. I assume the worst. Needing a break, I stand and drop my napkin on the table. I'm going to head up and shower. Think I want to do some shopping around the hotel shops for souvenirs. He stands too, more out of surprise than courtesy, I think. Okay, I could. No, it's okay. I'll catch up with you later. He doesn't say anything else, and when I look back near the exit, his expression is hidden from me. He's back in his seat, staring down at his meal. Retail therapy is real and glorious. I'm able to noodle around the hotel shops and find a few thank you gifts for Amy, some souvenirs for my parents, and I even buy a t-shirt for Dane. He may be a jerkface, but he did miss his honeymoon. Although I can lose myself in the mental blackness of pursuing overpriced island tchotchkes, in the background, the low hum of irritation with Ethan remains, and is accompanied by the throbbing bass line of stress over whether we made a terrible mistake by sleeping together. It's possible we did, and if so, we've just made the remaining 5 days here exponentially more awkward than they would be if we still hated each other. This day has been emotionally draining. Waking up with the memory of a kiss, a fight with Ethan, the realization about Dane, reconciliation, and sex, and then the predictable daily Sophie run-in that wedged a whole boatload of uncertainty between us. This day has lasted 4 years. My first go-to whenever I'm upset has always been my sister. I pull out my phone and focus on the swaying palm trees overhead in its reflection. I want to ask if she's okay. I want to ask if Dane is around, to see what he's been doing, and with who. I really want her advice about Ethan, but know that I can't get into any of that without explaining all the details that led up to it first. I can't do that over the phone. I certainly can't do it over text with her. So, needing to anchor to home, I text Diego instead. What's the latest in the frozen tundra? I had a date last night. Ooh, was it good? Well, he reached forward to retrieve a piece of food from my teeth without warning. So, no then? I'm guessing you and Ethan haven't murdered each other yet? Close, but no. Now is definitely not the time to break the news that Ethan and I did the deed, and Diego is definitely not the one to tell. I'll lose all aspects of message control. Well, I'm sure you're managing to somehow suffer through a dream vacation. Exactly. It's amazing. Even I can't complain. How is Amy? Emaciated, bored, and married to a bro. And Mom and Dad? Rumor has it your dad brought her flowers, and she pulled off every petal and used them to spell P-U-T-A in the snow. Wow, that's wow. So, all is same here. I sigh. That's exactly what I worried about. Okay, I'll see you in a few days. Miss you, Mommy. Miss you too. I return to the room with my bags, expecting, maybe hoping, that Ethan is out so I can use the calm of my post-shopping brain to figure out how I'm going to handle him. But of course he's there, showered, dressed, and sitting on the balcony with a book. He hears me come in and stands, stepping inside. Hey. Just a glance at him and I'm remembering what happened only a few hours ago, and how he looked down at me, his movements slowing just before he came, eyes heavy, mouth slack with pleasure. I drop the bags onto a chair in the living room and busy myself by digging through them to pretend to look for something. Hey, I say, faux distracted. Did you want to grab dinner? He asks. My stomach rumbles, but I lie. Not super hungry. Oh, I was just waiting to see. He cuts the words short, rubbing his chin with mild aggravation. My response to this is completely unrelated, but it's what my brain decides to throw out into the room. I thought you might be having drinks with Sophie. He has the nerve to look confused. No. You could have gone to dinner without me, you know. I don't have anything to do with my hands, so I aggressively roll my plastic shopping bag closed and shove it deeper on the chair. We don't have to eat every meal together. What if I wanted to go with you? He asks, studying me, clearly vexed. Would that break your new, confusing rules? I bark out a laugh. Rules? What rules? What are you talking about? You sleep with me, and then you have an emotional brain fart with me in front of your ex. I would say that's breaking a pretty big rule. He frowns immediately. Wait, this is about Sophie? Is this another cheese-curd misreading of the situation? No, Ethan, it isn't. I don't give a crap about Sophie. This is about me. You were more focused on her reaction to you than you were on what I was feeling in that moment. I don't often put myself in situations where I'm a rebound or a distraction, and so you can probably understand that it was awkward for me to see her too, but you had zero awareness of it, and obviously that's to be expected if you don't have feelings for me, but I trail off lamely. Anyway, it's not about Sophie. Ethan pauses, mouth open like he wants to speak but isn't sure what to say. Finally, he manages. What makes you think I don't have feelings for you? It's my turn to hesitate. You didn't say you did. I didn't say I didn't either. I am tempted to continue this ridiculousness just to be a brat, but someone has to be an adult here. Please don't pretend you don't understand why I'm
pissed.
Olive, we've barely had a conversation since we had sex. What do you have to be
pissed
about? You were totally freaking out at lunch. You're freaking out now. I realize that he's not denying anything I've said. Of course I'm going to be annoyed watching you quietly soak up Sophie's jealousy after you just had sex with me. Quietly soak up? He stops, shaking his head. Ethan holds up his hands in a request for a temporary ceasefire. Can we just get dinner? I'm starving and have no idea what's going on here. Perhaps unsurprisingly, dinner is tense and silent. Ethan orders a salad. I order a salad. Clearly, we do not want to have to wait long for our food to arrive. We both avoid alcohol too, but I could honestly use a few margaritas. Once the waitress leaves, I pull out my phone and pretend to be incredibly busy, but I'm really just playing poker. Obviously, I was right. The sex was a huge mistake, and now we have 5 days left together. Should I suck it up, pull out the credit card, and get a room for myself? It would be a huge expense, but it might allow the vacation to continue to be fun. I could do all the activities left on my bucket list, and even if it's 30% as fun as doing it with Ethan, it's still 100% more fun than I'd be having at home. But the idea that I may be done with the particular brand of Ethan hassling fun I've been enjoying so far is a bummer. Olive. I look up in surprise when he says it, but he doesn't immediately continue. Yeah? He opens his napkin, sets it on his lap, and leans in on his forearms, meeting my eyes directly. I'm sorry. I can't tell if it's an apology for lunch, for the sex, or for about 100 other things he could possibly stand to apologize for. About lunch, he says gently. I should have focused only on you. He pauses and runs a finger over a dark brow. I wasn't at all interested in having drinks with Sophie. If I was withdrawn, it was because I was hungry and tired of running into her. Oh. Everything in my head seems to come to a standstill, words momentarily on hiatus. That was so much easier than getting a new hotel room. Okay. He smiles. I don't want things to be weird with us. Frowning, I ask, wait, are you apologizing so you can have sex with me again? Ethan looks like he can't decide if he wants to laugh or throw his fork at me. I think I'm apologizing because my emotions tell me I need to. You have emotions besides irritation? Now he laughs. I don't think I registered that I seemed to be quietly enjoying her jealousy. I won't lie and say that it doesn't bring me some pleasure that she's jealous, but that's independent of how I feel about you. I didn't mean to seem preoccupied with Sophie after we'd just been together. Wow, did some woman text him that apology? That was fantastic. She texted me earlier and I replied, he says, and turns his phone around so I can read it. The text simply says, gonna pass on drinks. Have a nice trip. Before you got back to the room, look at the timestamp. He says, and points grinning, you can't even say that I did it because you were mad, because I had no idea you were mad. Finally, my cluelessness comes in handy. Our waitress slides our salads down in front of us, and now that things are better between us, I regret not getting a burger. Forking a piece of lettuce, I say, "Okay, cool. Okay, cool." He repeats slowly, "That's it?" I look up at him. "I mean it. That was an impressive apology. We can go back to being rude to each other for fun now." "What if I feel like being nice to each other for fun now?" he asks, and then flags down the waitress. I narrow my eyes at him. "I'm trying to imagine nice on you." "You were pretty nice on me earlier," he says in a quiet growl. At the side of the table, a throat clears. We both look up to see the waitress has returned. "Oh, hi, that was timely." I wave to her, and Ethan laughs. "Can we get a bottle of Bergstrom Cumberland Pine Knot?" he asks her. She leaves, and he shakes his head at me. "You're going to loosen me up with alcohol now?" I ask, grinning. "That's one of my favorite wines." "I know." He reaches across the table, taking my hand, and my insides turn warm and heavy. "And no, I'm going to loosen you up by refusing to fight with you. You won't be able to resist." Bending, he kisses my knuckles. "Wanna bet?" Chapter 13. As Ethan chatters easily throughout his meal and into dessert, I stare at him, working to not let my jaw fall open too frequently. I don't think I've seen him smile this much ever. Part of me wants to pull my phone back out and take a picture. It's the same part of me that wants to catalog every one of his features: the dramatic brows and lashes, the contrast of his bright eyes, the straight Roman line of his nose, his full, intelligent mouth. I get the sense that we're living on a cloud. No matter what I tell my head and my heart, I worry I'm in for a rough crash landing when we fly home to Minnesota in a matter of days. As much as I fight the thought, it keeps returning, uninvited. This can't last. It's too good. He draws a strawberry through a drizzle of chocolate syrup beside the cheesecake we're sharing and holds the fork aloft. "I was thinking we could do the halekulala at sunrise tomorrow." "What's that?" I steal the fork and eat the perfect bite he's crafted. He doesn't even scowl. He smiles. And I try not to let this throw me. Ethan Thomas is totally fine with me eating off his fork. Olive Torres from 2 weeks ago is floored. "It's the highest point on the island," he exclaims. "According to Carly at the front desk, it's the best view around. But we have to get there pretty early." "Carly at the front desk, eh?" He laughs. "I had to find someone to talk to while you were off shopping all afternoon." Only a week ago, I would have made a cutting, sarcastic remark in response to this, but my brain is full of nothing but hard eyes and the urge to kiss him. So I reach across the table for his hand. He takes mine without any hesitation, like it's the most natural thing in the world. "So I think," I say quietly, "that if we're going to be up for sunrise, we should probably get to bed soon." His lips part. Eyes drop to my mouth. Ethan Thomas is quick on the uptake. "I think you're right." Ethan's alarm goes off at 4, and we startle awake, mumble into the darkness, and roll in a naked, sheet-tangled tumble from bed and into our layers of clothing. Although we are on a tropical island, the front desk Carly told Ethan the pre-dawn temperatures at the peak of the mountain are frequently below freezing. Despite our best intentions for an early bedtime, the man kept me up for several hours with his hands and mouth and shockingly large vocabulary of dirty words. It feels like a thick sex fog hovers in my brain even when he turns on the light in the living room. With teeth brushed and kisses given, Ethan brews coffee, and I pack a bag with water, fruit, and granola bars. "Want to hear my mountain climbing story?" I ask. "Is bad luck involved?" "You know it." "Let's hear it." "Summer after sophomore year in college," I begin, "Amy, Jules, Diego, and I took a trip to Yosemite because Jules was on a fitness kick and wanted to climb Half Dome." "Uh-oh. Yes," I sing. "It's a terrible story." "So Amy and Jules were in great shape, but Diego and I were, let's say, more marathon couch potatoes than runners. Of course, the hike itself is insane, and I thought I was going to die at least 50 times, which has nothing to do with luck, just laziness. But then we start the final vertical ascent up the subdome. No one told me to watch where I would put my hands. I reached in a crevice and get a grip and grabbed a rattlesnake." "What?" "Yeah, bit by a
Fucking
rattlesnake and fell like 15 feet. Ethan gapes at me. "What did you do?" "Well, Diego wasn't going to climb the last stretch, so he was there standing over me, acting like his plan was to pee on my hand. Thankfully, the ranger came over and had some anti-venom, and it was okay." "See," Ethan says, "that's lucky. To be bitten? To fall?" He laughs ridiculously. "Lucky they had the anti-venom. You didn't die on Half Dome." I shrug, dropping a couple of bananas into the backpack. I see what you're saying. I can feel him still watching me. You really don't believe this, though, right? Off my look, he adds, that you have some sort of chronically bad luck? Absolutely. I've already shared a couple of winners, but just to keep it recent, I lost my job the day after my roommate moved in. In June, I got some car repairs done and a ticket when a hit and run shoved my brand new car into a no parking zone. And this summer, an old woman fell asleep on my shoulder on the bus, and I only realized she was dead and not actually asleep after I'd missed my stop. His eyes go wide. I'm kidding about that last one. I don't even take the bus. Ethan bends, cupping his hands over his knees. I don't know what I would do if someone died on me. I think the odds are pretty slim. Even half asleep, I grin as I pour our coffee into 2 paper cups and slide one in front of Ethan. Straightening, he says, I guess I'm just suggesting that you give the idea of luck too much power. You mean how positivity breeds positivity? Please don't tell me you think you're the first one to mention this to me. I realize part of it's outlook, but honestly, it's luck too. Okay, but my lucky penny is just a coin. It doesn't have any great power. It's not magic. It's just something I found before a bunch of awesome things happened. So now I associate it with those awesome things. He lifts his chin to me. I had my penny the night we ran into Sophie. Logically, if everything was about luck, that wouldn't have happened. Unless my bad luck countered your good luck. His arms come around my waist, and he pulls me into the heat of his chest. I'm still so unaccustomed to the ease of his affection that thrill passes in a shiver down my spine. You're a menace, he says into the top of my head. It's just how I'm built, I tell him. Amy and I are like photo negatives. It's not a bad thing. He tilts my chin, kissing me once, slowly. We're not supposed to be carbon copies of our siblings, even when we're outwardly identical. I think about all this as we move into the hallway. I've spent my entire life being compared to Amy. It's nice having someone like me for me. But of course, this awareness, that he likes me the way I am, trips the following one, and once we're in the elevator and headed to the lobby, the thought bursts out of me unattended. I guess I'm pretty firm 180 from Sophie, too. I immediately want to sift the words out of the air and shove them back into my face. I guess, yeah. I want him to add, but not in a bad way. Again, or even, I'm glad. But he just grins down at me, waiting for me to spew some more nonsense. I will not indulge him. I bite my lips closed and glare up at him. He knows exactly what he's doing. What a monster. Ethan continues to smile down at me. Are you jealous? Should I be? I ask, and then immediately amend. I mean, we're just having a vacation fling, aren't we? He lets surprise slowly, skeptically, take over his features. Oh, that's all that this is? The way this lands feels like a boulder rolling down my spine. We're only a couple of days away from hate and into tenderness. It's way too soon to be talking about this in any serious way. Or is it? I mean, technically we're in-laws now. It's not like we can leave the island and never see each other again. At some point we're going to have to deal with what we're doing, and what the fallout will be. We step out of the elevator, pass through the lobby, and in the darkness get into a cab. I still haven't answered him. This is one I need to sit with for a little bit, and Ethan is apparently fine with that because he doesn't prompt me again. What's amazing is that even at 4:30 in the morning, there is traffic headed up through the national park to the crater's peak. There are vans with bicycles, hiking groups, and couples like us. We're sort of a couple, planning to lay down a towel and huddle together in the morning chill. It takes an hour to get through the traffic and to the top, where we scrabble up a series of rocks to the peak. Even though the sky is still mostly dark, the view is breathtaking. There are clusters of people standing huddled together in the cold, or sitting on the ground with blankets, but it's oddly quiet, like everyone is respectful enough to keep their voices down when they're about to witness a 360-degree sunrise. Ethan spreads out a couple of beach towels we borrowed from the hotel and beckons me down. He guides me to sit between his long, outstretched legs and pulls me back against his chest. I can't imagine he's very comfortable, but I am in heaven, so I give in to it and just let my guard down for a long, quiet stretch. I wish I knew what was happening, both between us and inside my heart. It feels like the organ itself has gotten bigger, like it's demanding to be seen and heard, reminding me that I am warm-blooded female with wants and needs that go beyond the basics. Being with Ethan increasingly feels like spoiling myself with a perfect new pair of shoes or an extravagant dinner out. I just remain unconvinced that I deserve this daily, or that it can last. It's obvious to me that we've both fallen into quiet reflection about us, and I'm not at all surprised when he said, I asked you something earlier. I know. We're just having a vacation fling, aren't we? Oh, is that all this is? He goes quiet again. Obviously, he doesn't have to repeat what he said, but I don't feel entirely sure where my head is on this particular issue. I'm thinking. Think out loud, he says, with me. My heart does this tight, twisting maneuver at the way he so easily asks me for what he needs and knows I can give him. Transparency. We didn't even like each other a week ago, I remind him. His mouth comes to a gentle landing on the side of my neck. I think we should chalk all that up to a silly misunderstanding. Would it help if I treated you to cheese curds when we got home? Yes. You'd promise you'd share them with me? He kisses me again. Only if you ask very nicely. At this point, I can only attribute my own pre-Maui feelings about Ethan to being reactionary and defensive. When someone doesn't like us, it's natural not to like them in return, right? But the memory that Dane told him I was always angry does bring up something Ethan has been hesitant to discuss. I know I tend to be the pessimist to Amy's optimist, but I'm not angry. I'm not sharp. I am cautious and wary. The fact that Dane told Ethan that, and that Dane happened to be sleeping with other women when he said it, makes me particularly wary of Dane. I don't think we can have this conversation without also exploring the possibility that Dane wanted to keep us away from each other. I feel the way he stiffens when I say this, but he doesn't move away or let me go. Why would he do that, though? My theory, I say, he let Amy believe he was monogamous and you knew he wasn't. If you and I started talking, it would eventually slip out that he was seeing other people, just like it did here. Behind me, Ethan shrugs. I know him well enough now to imagine the expression he's making, unconvinced but unconcerned. It probably just felt weird to him, he says, the idea of his big brother dating his girlfriend's twin sister. If I agreed to go out with you, I add, are you telling me you wouldn't have? He counters, I saw the thirst in your eyes too, Olivia. I mean, you're not too terrible to look at. Neither are you. These words are spoken into the sensitive skin beyond my ear. The particular Olive and Ethan brand of compliment blows through me, soft and seductive. Ethan's reaction to me at the wedding gave no indication he thought anything other than that I was a short green satin troll. I'm still rewiring the aspect of things. I always assumed my attraction was obvious, he says. I wanted to translate your frowns and find out what your problem was with me and then bend you over the back of my couch. All of my internal organs turned to goo at his words. I worked to remain upright, letting my head fall back into the crook of his neck. You still haven't answered my question, he reminds me quietly. I bite back a smile at his persistence. Is this just a fling? Yeah, he says. I'm fine with a fling, I guess, but I want to know so I can figure out how to handle it once we're home. You mean whether or not to tell Dane? I ask carefully. I mean whether I'll need some time to get over you. This corkscrews an ache through my heart. I turn my head so that I can meet his kiss as he bends to deliver it, and let the feeling of relief and hunger wash over me. I try to imagine Ethan at Amy and Dane's house, keeping my distance, and not wanting to touch him like this. I can't. Even in my imagination, it's impossible. I'm not entirely done with whatever this is, I admit. Even if it's a fling, it doesn't feel, don't say it, flung. I grin up at him and he groans. That was almost as bad as your on-the-cuff line at the wedding. I knew that would hold a special place in your memory. Ethan bares his teeth on my neck, growling. So I guess what I'm saying is, I begin, and then take a deep breath like I'm about to jump off a cliff into a pool of dark water. If you wanted to keep seeing each other once we're home, I wouldn't be totally opposed. His mouth moves up my neck, sucking. His hand slides beneath my jacket and shirt, coming to a warm stop over my breastbone. Yeah? What do you think? I think I like it. He kisses along my jaw to my mouth. I think this means I get to do this, even after our fake honeymoon is over. I arch into his palm, urging it over my own hand until he's cupping my breast. But with a frustrated growl, Ethan pulls his fingers back down to my stomach. I wish we'd had this conversation back at the room. Me too. Because we definitely can't fool around now. The sun isn't visible yet, but it's off the horizon, lighting the sky a million shades of orange, red, purple, and blue. Did we just decide something? He asks. I squeeze my eyes closed, grinning. I think so. Good, because I'm sort of crazy about you. Holding my breath, I quietly admit, I'm crazy about you too. I know if I turned back to look at his face, he'd be smiling. I feel it in the way the band of his arms tighten around me. We watch together as the sky continues to transform every few seconds, an unreal canvas changing constantly in front of us. It makes me feel like a little girl again, and instead of imagining a castle in the sky, I'm living in it. Truly, the only thing we can see all around us is this dramatic, painted sky. The gathered audience falls into a unified silence, and my own spell is broken only when the sun is high and bright, and the mass of bodies begins to shift in preparation to leave. I don't want to leave. I want to sit right here, leaning against Ethan for eternity. "Excuse me," Ethan says to a woman in a passing group. "Would you mind taking a photo of me and my girlfriend?" Okay, maybe it's time to run back to the hotel room. Chapter 14. Someone explained to me the physics of my suitcase weighing approximately 50 pounds more when I leave than it did when I arrived, I say. All I've added to it are a couple of t-shirts and a few small pieces of souvenir jewelry. Ethan comes over to the side of the bed, pressing a large hand down on my bag and helping me zip it closed, with effort. "I think it's the weight of your questionable decision to buy Dane an I Got Laid in Maui t-shirt." "You don't think he'll appreciate my dark humor?" I ask. I mean, my dilemma really is whether I give it to him before or after we tell him we're sleeping together. Shrugging, he pulls the suitcase off the bed and looks over at me. He'll either laugh or give you the pouty, silent treatment. Frankly, I could deal with either of those options. I'm shoving things into my carry-on, so it takes me a few seconds to realize that Ethan hasn't immediately shot something back at me. "I'm kidding, Ethan." "Are you?" I've been able to push this out of my thoughts for the majority of this trip, but reality is poking at our blissful vacation bubble much sooner than I'd like. Is Dane going to become a thing between us? Ethan sits on the edge of the mattress and pulls me between his knees. I said it before. It's clear you don't really like him, and he's my brother. Ethan, he's fine. Fine. He's also your brother-in-law. I step back, frustrated. My brother-in-law, who was essentially cheating on my sister for 2 years. Ethan closes his eyes, sighing. There is no way. If he was seeing Trinity with the mango butt 2 years ago, then he was definitely cheating on Amy. He takes a deep breath and releases it slowly. You can't just go in like a bull in a china shop and throw all this at Amy as soon as we get home. Have some faith in my ability to be subtle, I say, and then he fights a smile. I add, I did not choose that bridesmaid dress, for the record, but you did choose the red bikini. Are you complaining? I ask, grinning. Not at all. His smile fades. Look, I know you and Amy and your entire family are close in a way that Dane and I aren't. Sure, we travel together, but we don't really talk about this kind of stuff. I don't know if it's our place to get into this. We don't even know if it's true. But for argument's sake, how would you feel if it was, and he was lying to Amy for years? Ethan stands, and I have to tilt my head to look up at him. My first instinct is to think he's annoyed with me, but he isn't, I guess. He takes my face in his hands and bends to kiss me. I'd be disappointed, of course. I just have a really hard time thinking he'd do that. As usual, my fuse for the Dane conversation has reached its fiery end. Things are already bittersweet today. I don't want to leave the hotel, but I'm excited to see where things go between us back home, and bringing in the stress of Amy and Dane isn't going to make anything easier. I hook a finger under the waistband of his shorts, feeling the warm skin of his navel. Tugging him even closer to me, with a smile of understanding, his mouth comes back over mine, urgent now, like we've both just become hyper-aware of the brutal end to this fairy tale. The way he's touching me with such familiarity gives me as strong a rush as the sensation of his kiss. I love how smooth and full his lips feel. I love how he spreads his hands when he's touching me, like he's trying to feel as much of my skin as he can. We're already dressed and ready to go, but I don't protest for a single second when he roughly pulls my shirt over my head and reaches back to unhook my bra. We fall back onto the mattress. He's careful not to land directly on top of me, but I've already grown semi-addicted to the sensation of his weight, to the heat and solidity and sheer size of him. The clothes we're planning to wear on the plane land in a pile beside the bed, and he comes over me, hovering on straight arms propped near my shoulders. Ethan's gaze roams across every inch of my face. Hey, you, I say. He grins. Hey, look at this. Somehow we ended up naked again. A tanned shoulder lifts and drops. I can see this being a regular problem. Problem? Perfection. Tomato, tomato. His flash of a laugh grin fades quickly, and the way his eyes search my face look like he's going to say something more. I wonder if he can read my thoughts. how I'm silently begging him not to bring up Dane or anything that could screw this up back home. And thankfully he doesn't. He just carefully lowers me, groaning quietly when my leg comes up along his sides. He knows what I like already, I think, skirting my hands down his back as he starts to move. He's been paying attention this entire time, hasn't he? I wish I could go back in time and see him through these new eyes. Thrifty Jet seemed horrifyingly low budget on the way here, but on the flight home, the tight quarters are a convenient excuse to wrap my arm around Ethan's and spend several hours huffing the lingering smell of ocean on his skin. Even he seems calmer on this flight, after being tense and monosyllabic at takeoff. Once we're in the air, he wraps a big hand around my thigh and falls asleep resting his cheek against the crown of my head. If 2 weeks ago someone had shown me a photograph of us right now, I think I might have died of shock. Would I have believed the look on my face? The giddy, sex-sated grin I can't seem to wipe clean? Would I have trusted the calm, adoring way he watches me? I haven't felt like this before. This type of intense, free-falling happiness. That doesn't carry with it any unease or uncertainty about me and Ethan and what we're feeling. I never adored someone with such heated abandon, and something tells me he hasn't either. My uncertainty is all about what waits for us at home, specifically what sort of rift any drama between Dane and Amy will cause between us all. But then I have to ask myself, is it worth saying anything to my sister? Should I let bygones be bygones? Should I take a novel approach and not leap to the worst conclusion, but have a little faith instead? I mean, maybe she knows all this already anyway, and they've worked through it. Maybe finding out that I know Dane wasn't monogamous early on would only embarrass her and make her constantly self-conscious or defensive when I'm around them both. I look up at Ethan, who's still asleep, and it hits me that just because I think I know what's going on, it doesn't mean I really do. This guy right here is the perfect example. I thought I knew exactly who he was, and I was completely wrong. Is it possible there are sides to my twin I don't know at all too? I gently shake him awake, and he inhales, stretching before looking down at me. It's like a punch to the chest how much I like his face. "Hey," he says, voice gravelly. "What's up? You okay?" "I like your face," I tell him. "I'm glad you wanted to tell me that at this very moment. And," I say, smiling nervously, "I know we don't like this topic, but I wanted to let you know that I've decided to not say anything to Amy about Dane." Ethan's face relaxes, and he leans forward, kissing my forehead. "Okay, cool. Things are going so great for all of us right now. I mean, yes," he cuts in with a laugh, "except for the Cigatura toxin that caused them to miss their honeymoon. Except for that." I wave a faux casual hand. "Anyway, things are going well, and I think we should just let the past be in the past." "Totally." He kisses me once and leans back, smiling with his eyes closed. "I just wanted to let you know. I'm glad you did. Okay, go back to sleep." I will. The plan. Once we land, we'll grab our bags, share a cab back to Minneapolis, and spend the night at our respective home. We've already agreed the cab will drop me off at my apartment building in Dinkytown, so he can see me get in safely, before taking him to Loring Park. I'm sure it will be weird to sleep alone, but we agreed to meet up for breakfast, at which point I am positive that I will maul him instead of doing what we plan to do. Figure out how and when to tell Amy and Dane about us. Everything about this end of this trip stands out for how starkly different it is from the beginning. We aren't uncomfortable. We're holding hands, walking through the airport terminal, bickering lightly about which one of us is going to give in first and show up at each other's doorstep. He bends at the luggage carousel, planting a kiss on my mouth. "You could just come over now and save yourself the trip later. Or you could. But my bed is really great," he argues. "It's big, firm, but not hard." I immediately see where all our future problems lie. We are both stubborn homebodies. "Yeah, but I want to get in my own bathtub and use every single bath product I own and have missed for the past 10 days. Ethan kisses me again and pulls back to say more, but his eyes flitter over my shoulder and his entire demeanor changes. "Holy shit!" The words sound echoey, from a distance multiplied. I turn to see what he's gaping at, and my stomach absolutely plummets. Amy and Dane are standing only a few yards away, holding a "welcome home from our honeymoon" sign. Now I understand what I've heard. Amy and Ethan spoke the same words, at the same time. There is a riot in my brain. Just my luck. I'm temporarily unavailable to decide what to process first. The fact that my sister is here, that she saw me kissing Ethan, that Dane saw me kissing Ethan, or the reality that, even 11 days after they were knocked down by a toxin, they both still look positively horrible. I think Amy has lost over 10 pounds, and Dane has likely lost more. The grain sheen to Amy's complexion hasn't entirely gone away, and her clothes sag on her frame. And here we are, tanned, rested, and making out in baggage claim. What am I seeing? Amy says, dropping her half of the sign in shock. I'm sure I'll examine my reaction later, but given that I can't tell whether she's excited or angry right now, I let go of Ethan's hand and take a step away from him. I wonder how it looks to her. I left for her honeymoon, paid almost nothing, suffered not at all, and came home kissing the man that I was supposed to hate. And never once mentioned any of this to her on the phone or in texts. Nothing. We were just saying goodbye. Were you kissing? She says. Brown eyes saucer wide. Ethan tosses out a confident yes, just as I state an emphatic no. He looks down at me, smirking at how easily that lie came out of me. I can tell he is more proud of my smoothness than he is annoyed by my answer. Okay, yes, I amend. We were kissing, but we didn't know you were going to be here. We were going to tell you guys tomorrow. Tell us what, exactly? Amy asks. Ethan takes this one readily and slides his arm around my shoulder, pulling me close. That we're together. For the first time, I get a good look at Dane. He's staring directly at Ethan, eyes narrowed like he's trying to beam words into his brother's cranium. I tried to tamp down my reaction, knowing it's probably just my own read on the situation. But his glare looks a lot like, "What did you tell her?" "It's cool," Ethan says calmly, and my resolution to mind my own beeswax returns, heightened by the potent mix of adrenaline in my blood. "Everything is very cool," I say, too loudly, and give Dane a dramatic and probably ill-advised wink. "Super cool." I am a maniac. He bursts out laughing and finally breaks the ice, stepping forward to hug me first, and then his brother. Amy continues to stare at me in shock, and then slowly shuffles over. She feels like a skeleton in my arms. "Dude, are you two really a thing now?" Dane asks his brother. "We are," Ethan tells him. "I think I can approve it at this point," Dane says, smiling and nodding at each of us like a benevolent boss. I say, "That's good." Amy still has not relaxed her expression one bit. How did this even happen? I shrug, wincing. I hated him until I didn't? That's actually a very accurate synopsis. Ethan slides an arm around my shoulders again. My sister shakes her head slowly, gaping at the two of us in turn. I don't know whether to be happy or horrified. Is this the apocalypse? Is that what's happening? We could totally trade twins sometimes. Dane says to Ethan and then erupts into a fratty laugh. My smile droops. That would... I shake my head emphatically. No, thank you. "Oh my God, shut up, honey," Amy says, laughing and hitting his shoulder. "You are so gross." Everyone laughs except me, and I realize it's too late, so my ha 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 comes out like a pull-string toy. But I think that's my problem with Dane, in a nutshell. He's gross. And unfortunately, my sister loves him. I've been hooking up with his brother, and not 5 minutes ago, I gave Dane the all-clear wink. I made my decision. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to put on my big girl pants and deal. Chapter 15. I wanted to stay in Maui. I wanted to stay in bed with Ethan for weeks and listen to the ocean while I fell asleep. But even so, the moment I'm back in my apartment, I want to kiss every single piece of furniture and touch every single thing I've missed for the past 10 days. My couch has never looked so inviting. My television is way better than the one we had in the suite. My bed is fluffy and clean, and I can't wait until it's dark enough to justify taking a running leap into my pillows. I am a homebody, through and through, and there's nothing like being home. This feeling lasts about 30 minutes, because after I've unpacked, I check my fridge and realize there's nothing in there, so if I want to eat, I'd have to either order crappy delivery food or put my pants back on and leave the house. I sprawl in the middle of the living room on my fluffy faux fur rug and groan at the ceiling. If I'd gone to Ethan's, I could have made him get me food. The doorbell rings. I ignore it because my family would just waltz right in like they own the place, and 9 times out of 10 it's my upstairs neighbor Jack, a 50-something guy who pays way too close attention to my comings and goings. But then it rings again, which a few seconds later is followed by a knock. Jack never rings twice, and he never knocks. Standing, I peek through the peephole and see a chiseled jaw, a long, muscular neck. I've missed that neck. Ethan! My heart reacts before my brain does, leaping happily into my throat. And so, when I pull the door open with a grin, it takes a beat to remember I'm not wearing pants. Ethan smiles at me, and then his eyes drop to my lower half, and he makes the same seductive expression I know I'm directing at the bag of food he's carrying. You missed me, I say, taking the Chinese takeout from his hand. You're pantless. I smirk at him over my shoulder. You should probably get used to it. I mostly behaved myself at the hotel, but 99% of the time I'm home, I'm in my underwear. He raises a brow and tilts his head toward the hallway. I'm sure he's guessed leads to my bedroom. I get it. In a movie, we would be crashing against the wall, passionately pinballing our way down the hall toward the bed because we missed each other so much after an hour apart. But in truth, that airport run-in was stressful as hell. I am starving, and this takeout smells amazing. Garlic chicken first, sex second. I get all fluttery inside, and I am not normally a swooner, when he smiles at the way I'm diving into the food he brought. He kisses my forehead and then turns, easily finding my silverware drawer and grabbing us both some chopsticks. We stand in the kitchen, eating chicken out of the containers. Something inside me uncoils because I was happy to be home, but now I feel giddy. I feel more myself with him than without, and that happened so fast. It's dizzying. My fridge was empty, he tells me. Figured yours was too, and it was only a matter of time before you came to my door because you were so lonely. I shove a mouthful of noodles in my mouth and speak around them. Yeah, that sounds like me. So needy, he agrees, laughing. I watch him tuck into the Mongolian beef and give myself a few quiet seconds to stare at the face I've missed for the past hour. I like that you just showed up, I tell him. Good, he chews and swallows. I was pretty sure you would, but there was a 20% chance you'd be like, get the hell out of my apartment. I need to do a fancy bath tonight. Oh, I definitely want a fancy bath. But after the food and sex. I nod. Right. I'll snoop around your apartment while you're doing that. I'm not a bath guy. This makes me laugh. Do you think this feels so easy because we hated each other at first? I ask. He shrugs, digging into the container for a giant piece of beef. We're a week in, I say, and I'm pantsless and eating greasy food in front of you. I mean, I saw you in that bridesmaid's dress. Everything else is an improvement. I take it back. I tell him, I still hate you. Ethan comes over, bends, and kisses my nose. Sure. The mood shifts. So many times I've gone from uneasy to angry with him, but now it's from happy to heated. He slides the food onto the counter behind me, cupping my face. He's only an inch away, I whisper. I just realized you and I shared a container of food and it didn't gross you out. He kisses me and then rolls his eyes, moving his mouth to my cheek, my jaw, my neck. I told you, I don't mind sharing. It's kiss buffets, and I was right. Well, I'm forever grateful that you're such a weirdo. Ethan nods, kissing my jaw. That was the best honeymoon I've ever been on. I pull his mouth back to mine and then hop up on him, relieved that he anticipates he'll need to catch me, and lift my chin toward the bedroom. That way. Once Ethan and I discover that we live only 2 miles apart, you'd think we find a way to alternate between apartments at night. You'd be wrong. Clearly, I am terrible at compromise, because from Wednesday night when we return home to Monday morning when I begin my new job, Ethan spends every night at my place. He doesn't leave things here, except a toothbrush, but he does learn that I have to hit my alarm 4 times before getting out of bed to go to the gym, that I don't use a favorite spoon or anything as menial as stirring in coffee, that my family can and will show up at the most inopportune moment, and that I require him to turn on the television to play some music every time I use the restroom, because I am a lady, obviously. But with this familiarity comes the awareness of how fast everything is moving. By the time we're closing in on 2 weeks together, which in the grand scheme of life is nothing, it feels to me like Ethan has been my boyfriend since the moment I met him at the state fair years ago. Things are easy and fun and effortless. This isn't how new relationships are supposed to be. They are supposed to be stressful and exhausting and uncertain. The morning before I go to work at Hamilton Biosciences for the first time is not the time to be having an existential crisis about moving too fast with my new boyfriend. But my brain doesn't get the memo. In a new suit, cute but comfortable heels, and with my hair blow-dried into a silky sheet down my back, I look over at Ethan at my small dining room table. You haven't said anything about how I look this morning. I said it with my eyes when you stepped out of the bedroom. You just weren't looking. He takes a bite of toast and speaks around it. You look beautiful and professional and intelligent. Pausing to swallow, he adds, but I also like the island scrappy version of you. I scrape some butter across my toast, then set the knife down with a clatter. Do you think we're moving too fast? Ethan sips his coffee, blue eyes now focused on the scrolling news on his phone. He's not even fazed by this question. Probably. Does that worry you? No. Not even a little? He looks back up at me. Do you want me to stay at my place tonight? God, no, I say in a complete knee-jerk response. He smiles, smug, and looks back down. But maybe, I say, should you? I don't think there are rules to this. I gulp my scalding coffee and then roar in pain. Ow! I stare at him, placid as ever, back to being nose-deep in the Washington Post mobile app. Why are you not freaking out a little? Because I'm not starting a new job today and looking for reasons to explain my stress about it. He puts his phone down and folds his arm on the table. You're going to be great, you know. I grunt, unconvinced. Ethan is more intuitive than I ever gave him credit for. Maybe we should get together with Amy and Dane for drinks later, he suggests, to process your first day, to make sure everyone is okay with this current situation. I feel like I've been hogging you. Stop that. Stop what? Being so emotionally balanced. He pauses, and a slow grin takes over his face. Okay. I grab my coat and purse and make for the door, fighting a grin because I know he's laughing at me behind my back, and I'm totally okay with it. I am reminded how small Hamilton Biosciences actually is when I step into the lobby, where a woman named Pam has been working the desk for 33 years. Casey, the HR representative I interviewed with a couple of months ago, greets me and beckons me to follow. If we turned left, we'd end up in the office suite of the legal team of 3. But we take a right down the hall that leads us to the mirror image suite that houses the HR department of 2. Research is just across the courtyard, Casey says, but all of the medical affairs folks, if you remember, are upstairs in this building. That's right, I adopt her upbeat tone, following her into her office. We'll just have a few forms to get you rolling, and then you can head upstairs to meet with the rest of your team. My heart takes off at a gallop as the reality of this sets in. I've been in a blissed-out la-la land for the past couple of weeks, but real life is back, front and center. For now, I'll only have one direct report working under me, but from what Casey and Mr. Hamilton told me when I was here last, there should be lots of opportunities for growth. You'll have some manager training, Casey is saying, rounding her desk, which I believe is Thursday. Gives you a little time to get settled. Great. I smooth my hands down my skirt and try to swallow down my nerves while she opens up some files on her computer. While she bends and retrieves a folder from a cabinet near her knee, while she opens it and pulls out some forms. I see my name at the top of all of them. Anxiety slowly gives way to thrill. I have a job that is solid and secure, and, let's be honest, will probably be boring sometimes, but will pay the bills. It's what I went to school for. It's perfect. Elation fills my chest, making me feel buoyant. Casey organizes a stack of paperwork for me, and I begin signing. It's the usual. I won't sell company secrets, won't commit various forms of harassment, won't use alcohol or drugs on the premises, won't lie, cheat, or steal. I'm deep into the stack when Mr. Hamilton himself peeks his head into her office. I see our Olive is back on the continent. Hey, Mr. Hamilton. He winks and asks, how's Ethan doing? I glance quickly at Casey and back. He's great. Olive just got married, he says. We ran into each other on her honeymoon in Maui. Casey gasps. Oh my God, I thought you were with a sick relative. I'm so glad I misunderstood. My stomach seems to melt away. I had completely forgotten about telling Casey this stupid lie in the airport. She doesn't seem to notice anything off and barrels on. We should have a party. Oh no, I say. Please don't. Insert awkward laugh. We're all partied out. But for sure he should join us at the Spouses Club, she says, already nodding vigorously at Mr. Hamilton. I know Mrs. Hamilton founded the club, but oh my God, Casey, take it down a notch or two. Mr. Hamilton winks at me. I know Molly put on the hard sell, but it is a fun group. This is going too far already. I'm so bad at lying that I've forgotten lies I've already told. Ethan and I aren't going to be able to keep this up for very long at such a close-knit company. I have a sinking feeling inside, but feel a tiny twinge of relief knowing that I'm going to put this lie to rest at last. I'm sure the Spouses Club is amazing. I pause and I know I could leave it at that. But I've signed all these forms and really want to make a fresh start here. Ethan and I aren't actually married. It's sort of a funny story. Mr. Hamilton, and I hope it's okay if I come by later and tell you about it. I wanted to keep it simple, but I can tell I should have built up my version a little bit. This just sounds bad. He processes this for a beat before glancing at Casey, then back to me, and saying quietly, well, regardless, welcome to Hamilton, before ducking out. I want to drop my head to the desk and then bang it a few dozen times. I want to let out a long string of curse words. I want to get up and follow him down the hall, Surely he'll understand the situation once I lay it out for him. I look back at Casey, who is regarding me with a mixture of sympathy and confusion. I think she's starting to realize that she didn't really misunderstand what I said about a sick relative. She's realizing I lied about that too. Not exactly the best way to start day one at a new job. 2 hours later, after I signed all the forms, after I meet the group that will be my medical affairs team, and genuinely liking all of them, Mr. Hamilton's assistant, Joyce, calls me down to his office. Just a welcome, I assume, my new manager, Tom, says cheerfully, but I think I know better. Mr. Hamilton lets out a low, "Come on in," after I knock, and his expectant smile flattens marginally when he sees me. "Olive?" "Hi," I say, and my voice shakes. He doesn't say anything right away, confirming my assumption that this meeting is a chance for me to explain myself. "Look, Mr. Hamilton, I don't dare call him Charlie here. About Maui. Put on your big girl pants and own it, Olive." Mr. Hamilton puts his pen down, taking off his glasses, and leans back in his chair. Right now he looks so different from the man I sat across from at dinner, who howled with laughter every time Ethan teased me. I'm sure he's thinking about that meal too, and how much Molly loved Ethan, how she invited him to her spouse's group, how they were so genuinely happy for us, while we sat there and lied to their faces. I gesture to the chair, silently asking if I may sit, and he waves me forward, sliding the arm of his glasses between his teeth. "My twin sister Amy was married 2 weeks ago," I tell him. "She married Ethan's brother, Dane. They hosted a seafood buffet, and the entire wedding party, except for me and Ethan, fell ill with food poisoning, ciguatera I add, because he's a scientist, and maybe he knows these things. He seems to, because his bushy eyebrows lift, and he lets out a quiet, ah. My sister Amy, she wins everything. Raffles, sweepskates, I say, smiling wryly. Even coloring contests. At this, Mr. Hamilton's mustache twitches under a grin. She won the honeymoon too, but the rules were really strict. It was a non-transferable, non-refundable. The dates were set hard and fast. I see. So Ethan and I went in their place. I give him a wobbly smile. Before that trip, we hated each other. Or I hated him because I thought he hated me. I wave this off. Anyway, I'm terrible at lying and I really hate doing it. I kept almost explaining it to everyone I saw, and when the massage therapist called me Mrs. Thomas and you'd ask if I'd gotten married, I panicked because I didn't want to admit that I wasn't Amy. I fidget with a magnetic paperclip holder on his desk, unable to look at him. But I didn't want to lie to you either, so either I lie and tell you I'm committing fraud to steal a vacation, or I lie and tell you I'm married. Pretending to be your sister to get a vacation doesn't sound like such a horrible lie, Olive. In hindsight, and I mean immediate hindsight, I knew that too. I don't think the massage therapist would have reported me or anything, but I really didn't want to be sent home. I panicked. I finally look up at him, feeling the apology all the way to my breastbone. I'm really sorry for lying to you. I admire you immensely, admire the foundation of this company, and have been feeling sick over it for the past couple weeks. Pausing, I say, for what it's worth, and at the risk of being unprofessional, I think that dinner with you was the reason I fell for Ethan on that trip. Mr. Hamilton sits forward to rest his elbows on his desk. Well, I guess I'm reassured that it made you uncomfortable to lie, he says, and I appreciate your bravery in telling me. Of course. He nods and smiles, and I exhale for the first time all day, it seems. This has been weighing on me, making my stomach feel wavy for hours. The truth is, he says, and slides his glasses back on, looking at me over the rims, we enjoyed that dinner. Molly really loved your company, adored Ethan. I smile. We had a great... But you sat across the table for an entire meal and lied to me. Dread turns the surface of my skin cold. I know. I don't think you're a bad person, Olive, and honestly, under any other circumstance, I'd think I'd really like you. He inhales slowly, shaking his head. But this is a weird situation for me. To think we were together for hours and you were fooling us? That's weird. And I have no idea what to say. My stomach feels like a concrete block now, sinking inside me. He slides a folder closer to him and opens it. My HR folder. You signed a morality clause in the employment contract, he says, looking down at the papers before turning his face back to me. And I'm truly sorry, Olive. But given the oddness of this situation and my overall discomfort with dishonesty, I'm going to have to let you go. I drop my head onto the bar table and groan. Is this really happening? Ethan rubs my back and wisely stays quiet. There is literally nothing that can turn this day around, not even the best cocktails in the Twin Cities, or the best talk from a new boyfriend. I should go home, I say. With my luck, the bar will catch fire and fall into a black hole. Stop. pushes the basket of peanuts and my martini closer and smiles. Stay. It'll make you feel better to see Amy. He's right. After I left Hamilton with my tail between my legs, half of me wanted to go home and burrow in my bed for a week, and half of me wanted to pull Ethan on one side and Amy on the other and have them hold me up for the rest of the night. And now that I'm here, I actually need to see my sister's indignant rage over me getting fired on my first day, even if it isn't entirely fair, and a large part of me doesn't blame Mr. Hamilton at all. But it will make me feel a million times better. Straightening beside me, Ethan looks toward the door, and I follow his attention. Dane has just arrived, but there's no Amy with him, which is weird since they usually commute together. What's up, my party people? He booms across the room. A few heads turn, which is just how Dane likes it. Ugh. I push down a snarky voice in my head. Ethan stands to greet him with a bro hug, and I give Dane a limp wave. He flops down on a bar stool, shouts for an IPA, and turns to us, grinning. Man, you guys are so tan. I'm trying not to hate you. Ethan looks down at his arms like they're new. Huh, yeah, I guess. Well, if it makes you feel any better, I say, and then affect a stuffy British accent, I've been sacked. I'm trying and failing to bring some levity to my mood, but Dane misinterprets my meaning and goes in for an immediate high five. Yeah, you have, Dane shouts, hand outstretched. I don't want to leave the poor man hanging, so I tap a finger to the middle of his palm and shake my head. Like, fired, I clarify, and Ethan follows up with a quiet, not sexy. Dane's mouth pinches into a weird little butthole, and he lets out a sympathetic, ooh, that sucks. He's not even doing anything douchey right now, but I swear his perfectly manicured beard and his fake glasses that he doesn't need and his trendy pink dress shirt just make me want to toss my martini in his face. But that reaction is so Olive, isn't it? I'm back in town for only a few days and I'm already in a mood? Lord. I'm so grumpy, I say out loud, and Dane laughs like, I know, right? But Ethan leans in. To be fair, you did just lose your job, he says quietly, and I smile grimly at him. Of course you're grumpy. Dane stares at us. It's going to be hard to get used to seeing you guys together. I bet, I say with a semi-intentional meaning, and meet his eyes. I'm sure you had a lot to talk about on the island, he winks at me, and then adds breezily, having hated each other's guts beforehand. I wonder if Ethan is having the same thought I am, that this is a super weird thing to say, but exactly the thing that someone who is afraid of being busted would say. We did, Ethan says, but it's all good. You didn't have to tell Ethan that I'm angry all the time, I say, unable to help myself. Dane waves this off. With you, it's a safe bet. You hate everyone. This tilts inside me, ringing untrue. For the life of me, I can't think of a single person I hate right now, except maybe myself, for lying to Mr. Hamilton and ending up in this place, where I'm not sure I'll be able to pay my rent in a month. Again. Ethan puts his hand over mine, a silent let it go. And truly, with Dane right now, or ever, arguing hardly seems worth it. Where's Amy? I ask, and Dane shrugs, peeking back over his shoulder at the door. She's 15 minutes late, and it's disorienting. My sister is the prompt one. Dane is the late one, and he's already flagging down the bartender for a second beer. So was this the job offer you got in the airport? Dane asks once she's gone. I nod. Was it like your dream job? No, I say, but I knew I'd be good at it. I lift the toothpick and swirl the olive in my martini glass. The best part? I was fired because I saw my new boss in Maui and we lied to him about being married. A laugh bursts out of Dane's mouth before he can contain it. He seems to realize I'm being sincere. Wait, seriously? Yes, and the wife, Molly, really loved Ethan and invited him to the spouses club and all of that stuff. I think Mr. Hamilton felt uncomfortable trusting me, knowing that I'd completely lied my face off for an entire meal with him, and I can't say I blame him. Dane looks like he has more laughs in him, but is wisely keeping them contained. Why didn't you just tell him you were taking your sister's vacation? That, Dane, is the question of the hour. He lets out a long, low whistle. We can talk about anything else, by the way, I say. Please. Dane deftly changes the topic to himself, his workday, how much better he's feeling, how he's gone down a pants size. He has some pretty entertaining stories about explosive diarrhea in public restrooms, but for the most part, it just feels like the Dane show. The moment Dane pauses to toss a few peanuts in his mouth, Ethan excuses himself to use the men's room, and Dane waves to the bartender for a third beer. Once she leaves again, he turns back to me. It's wild how much you and Amy look alike, he says. Identical, they say. I pick up a straw wrapper and roll it into a tight spiral, feeling oddly uncomfortable sitting here with just Dane. What's odd is how I used to see the family resemblance in Ethan and Dane, but in this moment, they look nothing alike at all. Is it because I know Ethan intimately now, or is it because he is a good human and his brother seems rotten from the inside? It's especially uncomfortable because he's still looking at me. Even though I'm not meeting his eyes, I can feel his focus on the side of my face. I bet Ethan told you all kinds of stories. And oh, my mind is immediately buzzing. Is he talking about what I think he's talking about? About himself, I deflect? About all of us? The whole fam? Dane and Ethan's parents are two of the most milquetoast people I've ever met in my life. The epitome of Minnesota nice, but also exceedingly dull. So I think both Dane and I know that Ethan wouldn't share many adventures about the whole fam. Is it my internal skeptical filter here that's making me think he's talking about the brother trips being Dane's idea, and of course all of his pre-engagement girlfriends? I look at him over the lip of my martini glass. I am so conflicted. I told Ethan and myself that I would let this one go, that Amy is a smart woman and she knows what she's getting into, that I am always the buzzkill pessimist. Dane gets one last freebie and that's it. We all have stories, Dane, I tell him evenly. You and Ethan have yours, Amy and I have ours. We all have them. He pops a couple of peanuts into his mouth and grins at me as he chews, mouth open, like he's just outsmarted me. As irritating as he's being, I can tell he's genuinely relieved. If it were anyone else smiling at me like this, I'd feel honored to be so clearly welcomed into the inner circle with just a shift in an expression. But with Dane, it makes me feel slimy, like I'm not supporting my sister by supporting her husband, like I'm betraying her. So you like my big brother, huh? He asks. The husky quiet of his voice makes me uneasy. He's all right, I guess, I joke. He's pretty great, he says, and then adds, even if he isn't me. I mean, I say, forcing a dorky grin, who is, am I right? Dane thanks the bartender when she delivers the fresh beer and then takes a foamy sip, still studying me. You ever want to mix it up? You let me know. My eyes fly to his face, and I feel the way the blood leaves my complexion in a whoosh. There's no way I'm misinterpreting his meaning. I'm sorry, what? Just a night of fun, he says breezily, like he hasn't just offered to cheat on his wife with her twin sister. I tap my chin with a finger, feeling my neck heat, my face flush. It's a struggle to keep my voice even. You know, I think I'll take an emphatic pass on sleeping with my brother-in-law. He shrugs like it makes no difference to him, and silently confirming that his vague words meant exactly what I thought they meant. But then his eyes are caught on something over my shoulder. I assume Ethan is walking back, because Dane smiles, tilting his chin. Yeah, he says as Ethan approaches, I guess he's all right. I gape at how casually he returns to our earlier conversation. Were you two talking about me? Ethan asks, lowering onto the stool beside me and pressing his smile to my cheek. We were, Dane says. I look at him. There's not even a warning in his expression. Not even any fear that I'll say something to Ethan about what just happened, by telling him that we all have stories, by implying I'm not going to press into the past. Have I indicated that I'm okay with being eternally complicit somehow? Dane peeks down at his phone when it vibrates on the bar top next to him. Oh, Amy is running about an hour late. I stand abruptly, robotically. You know, that's okay. I'm not the best company tonight. Rain check, guys? Dane nods easily, but Ethan looks concerned, reaching out with a hand to stop me. Hey, you okay? Yeah, I run, shaking a hand through my hair, looking past him. I feel jittery and gross, and somehow like I've done something unfaithful to Ethan and my sister. I need to get away from Dane and get some air. I think I just want to go home and wallow for a bit. You know me. He nods like he does know and releases me with a sympathetic smile. But I suddenly feel like I don't know anything. I am thunderstruck. That's not entirely true. I know some things. For example, I know I lost my job today. And I know that my sister's husband cheated on her before and is apparently happy to cheat on her again, with her twin. I need to get some clarity and figure out how the hell I'm going to tell Amy about all of this.